4 weeks ago, I made a video talking about the growing tech scene in South Florida and how in 2018 I built a website to help tech workers learn about local companies and tech-related events going on in the area. I stopped working on that site in 2019 because barely anybody was using it. Most days, traffic hovered around 0 to 3 visitors, even as I was updating the events every week and slowly adding new features. But for reasons that I explained in that first video, I think right now is a really good time to try this idea again. And I really think there's a good chance I could turn this into a small but solid business before the end of the year. And today is the beginning of that. Sort of. Before I can get into what I'm changing or adding to the site, I think it makes sense to show you guys where the site is at now. So that's what I'll be doing in this video, giving you a behind the scenes look of how the website works. And don't worry, part of my goal with this channel is to show you guys that programming is nowhere near scary as it can look like from the outside. So you won't find any technical jargon here, and you don't need to know anything about programming to follow along. Let's get into it. If you haven't seen the site before, this is the homepage. It's the very first thing I built, a feed of all the tech-related events going on in South Florida. You can quickly see the name of the event, the city it's taking place in, the price, a short description, and the date. When you click on any of the events, you get a lot more information. You get the full description, you get the time it's taking place at, the exact location, who's organizing the event, and if you scroll all the way down, you'll see a carousel of similar events. The reason for the similar events feature is because there are all kinds of events. There's events for beginners learning to program, there's events for different types of developers, there's events for designers, there's networking events. And the homepage orders events by date. So if you want to find something specific, you have to sift through a lot of events you aren't interested in. The similar events feature is a way to alleviate that pain. So if you open a blockchain event, you'll see other blockchain events at the bottom. If you open a design event, you'll see other design events. If you open a programming event, you'll see other programming events. Another really cool thing about this feature is that a really talented programmer that I've never met built that carousel effect for me. Well, not just for me, for anyone who uses this code. What I mean is, I used one of his libraries called Slick. You can think of a library as a package of code. In this case, Ken Wheeler, the author of this library, with the help of a few other programmers, wrote the code to create that carousel effect. Then he made his code public so anybody could use or modify it. That's called open source code. And as cool as Slick is, there are hundreds of thousands of open source projects out there that programmers can use to build all kinds of things. But that's a topic for another time. Okay, so that explains how this feature looks, but how does it work? In other words, how does the site know which events are like other events? The short answer is tags. Every time I create a new event, I add whatever tags I think make sense for that event. If it's a programming event, I add a programming tag. If it's a game development event, I add a game development tag. If it's a networking event, I add a networking tag. And if it was as simple as searching the database for all events with similar tags, that would be that. But I didn't design the database that way. Event items don't have a tag property. Tags are in their own database. That way, I don't have to write tags every time I add a new event and run the risk of a misspelling error, which would break the whole feature since it relies on exactly matching tags. So the question then is, how do I attach tags to an event, and how do I find events with similar tags? And if you've seen my video about Eat How, it works the same way as user ingredients work. So I have an events database table, I have a tags database table, and then I create an event tag database table. Items in this new event tag table only have two properties: event ID and tag ID. When I attach a tag to an event, nothing happens in the event table and nothing happens in the tag table. Instead, a new item is created in the event tag table with the tag ID of the tag that's being added and the event ID of the event it's being added to. In this case, I'm adding the beginner tag to the learn to code event. So a new event tag item is created with the tag ID of 2 and the event ID of 5. Then, when I want to find similar events, I can search in the event tag table for all items with similar tag IDs. In this example, I could search for all event tags with a tag ID of 2. After that, I grab all of the event IDs from the resulting list, and I'm done. I have a list of similar events. To recap, the similar events feature is the combination of two things. One, the Slick library to build the carousel effect, and two, using matching tags to find similar events. The last thing I want to show you today is the companies page. There's nothing too crazy here either. It's exactly what it sounds like. A list of tech companies in the area. From this page you can quickly see the logo, the name, the category or industry they work in, a short description, and the number of employees, just to give you an idea of how big or small the company is. When you click on any of the companies, you can see a carousel of images of the team or office, also powered by the Slick library, date when it was founded, what city their offices are in within South Florida, how much funding they've raised or if they've been acquired, and a link to their website. And that's all there is. As cool as I think this website is, the fact is, as I mentioned earlier, close to 0 people were visiting the site right up until I stopped updating it. And that was before COVID canceled all offline events. So I need to try something else. The good news is I'm already working on it. I won't make any predictions because I'm bad at it, but I'd be surprised if what I'm building now doesn't bring in at least a few hundred people within the first week. If you want to see what that is and you want to follow along with what happens with this project and support this channel, the best way to do that is by hitting the like and subscribe buttons below.